Since I've been back in the United States, I've been watching a little bit of the 700 Club here and there, bits and pieces. And they actually have the 700 Club in the country where I live, but it's quite a bit different. It doesn't really have a lot in common other than it's the same name, the same format as the one here because it doesn't have Pat Roberson as the host and the mainstay. But since I've been back, I've been watching bits and pieces, and basically I've kind of been surprised that I like a lot of it. I think they give a lot of good advice. I think Pat Roberson gives a lot of good advice on it. The other night, he had a segment where people write in questions and he gives answers. And some of these questions, they were actually pretty complex questions, pretty deep questions, but he gave really good answers, and I was surprised by that. I grew up watching the 700 Club in bits and pieces, but lately I've been hearing some things about Pat Roberson that made me not so pleased with him and some of his beliefs. But last night I was watching, and he had the segment where he answers people's questions, and one was about the Democratic primaries that are going on. Now, what a lot of people don't realize actually about Pat Roberson is they think he's a very conservative guy, but in reality, he's really not that much of a conservative. He's really much more of a moderate, and that's totally fine. We don't always have to have all the same beliefs as everyone and all the same values necessarily as everyone. You're always going to disagree with people, and that's totally fine, whatever he wants to be. He's not a far right-wing person. He's definitely not a liberal or a far left-wing person. He's much more of a moderate. That's actually the reality, and most people, they would not expect that, and they don't realize that. But he was talking about Joe Biden, and he said Joe Biden is a nice guy. Creepy Joe Biden, a nice guy. Now, I don't doubt that if you meet Joe Biden, since he's a very political person, literally he's a politician, I don't doubt that if he meets people, generally he's going to be nice, especially if he's meeting an influencer like Pat Roberson. Pat Roberson has this platform where he's very influential over people. So, do you think he's going to try and get on that guy's good side? Of course. And the reality is, most people in this world, especially in the United States, especially when you go to certain parts of the United States, certain states like North Dakota, where I am right now, they're going to be, most people, regardless of their religious beliefs, regardless of a lot of other outside factors, most people, they're generally going to be nice people. But what does that mean? I'm sure Joe Biden is a nice guy in terms of being polite, but he's also a corrupt guy. He's an extremely corrupt guy, like how he makes deals to get his son these high-paying jobs. Is he going to be nice to us like that and get us cushy jobs and all this money? Of course not. He uses his position of power, his corruption. Is that very nice? Or when he went on record as saying that European Americans are going to become a minority, and that's such a good thing. Is it nice that he's basically saying we need less of a certain race? Is that nice? In terms of being polite, I'm sure he is a nice guy, but it makes me think of President Trump. President Trump, is he a nice guy? No, President Trump is not a nice guy, but that's why we elected him. That's why we like him. When Trump was running in 2016, it was very clear that he's not a nice guy, but I was thinking, maybe this is what we need. We don't need a fake nice guy to be our president. We need a guy that's going to be kind of a bad guy. I want a bad guy for president as long as he's a bad guy for America. So that's one perspective, and we talk a lot about spirituality as well on this channel, even though this isn't a channel about religion. And one of the things that we've discussed is Christianity, it's not about being nice. That's the bottom line. It's not about being nice. And it's kind of funny because most Christians, certainly, they are nice people. Just like I said, most people in general in the United States tend to be very nice people. But I've been going with my wife to her church, to this Protestant church, and the people there, they are so nice. And I'd kind of like to tell some of them about this channel. But certainly some of the things I've said on this channel and some of the ways I've said them, they're not particularly nice. They may be truthful and they may be done with the intention of helping people, but I can imagine even a lot of nice people would be offended by certain things. In contrast, yesterday I was on the phone talking to a Catholic priest because I'm trying to fulfill a certain sacrament, and I'll give you more info on that later when I have it to let you know how everything's going to work out. But I was talking to this Catholic priest and I told him about this channel, and I'm not really embarrassed. I want him to come and check out and even see some of the controversial things that I may have said. Now, I don't expect him to necessarily agree with everything I've said, but as a Catholic priest, I don't expect him to be nice. I don't want priests to be jerks, and certainly there are some, just like police officers, that get in positions of power. They get a little bit drunk off their own power and authority, so I don't want them to be jerks for the sake of being jerks. But I expect a Catholic priest, I hold them to high standards. I expect them to understand that we live in a real world, and there are some ugly truths. There is evil in this world, and we have to fight back, and that means not being a nice guy, not being a pushover. And going back to President Trump, something else that I'd like to say is he's not a nice guy. Kind of like ex-President Jimmy Carter said, people seem to want a jerk to be the president. Well, it's not exactly that we want a jerk. It's that President Trump, he's a mean guy, and he is kind of a jerk, but the people that he's being mean to, they're really bad people. Kind of like on this channel, I've criticized some people that I feel are really bad people, and I haven't been very nice about it. This is why we don't mind Trump getting on people and behaving the way he does in certain ways, because the people that he's being mean to, they're really bad folks. Think about it, when he calls Elizabeth Warren Pocahontas. Now, this is a very despicable woman that lied. She's just a total liar, a total sleazeball. So when he calls her Pocahontas to really make fun at the lie that she spun for herself, we all enjoy it. So, or when Trump mocks Hillary Clinton, of course we don't mind it, because Hillary Clinton is a really bad person. Who would mind someone being mean to these people? So something else before I wrap up the video is, it's kind of funny, I just wanted to share that about how Joe Biden says, about how Pat Roberson said Joe Biden is a nice guy. After that, they moved on to covering the elections in Israel. And Pat Roberson, one of the things that I've come to realize about him is he's a hardcore Zionist, this guy. And he said about the elections in Israel that he knows both of the candidates. He's both kind of friends with both presidential candidates in Israel. They're both nice guys. He also said that about them. They're both nice guys. He said, we love Israel and we love the people of Israel. And I'm kind of thinking, who is this we business? Now, I don't hate Israel. I don't hate the people of Israel, certainly. But the bottom line is, I'm an American. I don't care about the people of Israel any more than I care about the people of Russia, Poland, Sweden, Thailand, anywhere else. I don't really care about they're not some special people so I'm thinking, like, we love them? Who is we? Maybe you do, because let's face it, he's probably making a lot of money shilling for them. Now, if you see me talking about how much we need to support a foreign country or something like that, I've probably been paid off, and I think that's the situation with him, how he's just a total shill for a foreign country. I'm an American. I care about America. I care about Americans. Now, you can love more than one country, and I certainly do. I'm actually kind of like Mel Gibson. I was reading about Mel Gibson. He has actually dual citizenship with the United States and Ireland, but he also has a permanent resident visa with Australia, which is a lot like me, because I love another country. I reside in another country, even though I'm loyal to the United States, first of all. But I do love another country, and I do love other people's, but I have a permanent resident visa myself to live in another country. So I certainly love that country as well, but I'm not going to say that Americans should pay millions of dollars in their tax money to this foreign country or something like that, or they should fight wars for this foreign country that don't benefit the United States. I don't expect other people to support something necessarily just because I personally like it, especially when it means to giving their money and giving their lives. I like comic books too, but I don't expect the at least I did when I was a kid, I mean, not anymore, it's been many years, but I just thought of that because over here I have my old comic book collection off screen. But I never expected taxpayers to support that and buy me comic books just because I personally liked it. But that's something that I wanted you guys to think about. Hopefully you enjoyed another video. Yesterday I had a great video, so be sure to check that out. And I have a lot of videos on this channel for you to enjoy.